practice. And so I watched her practice for about 45 to an hour. She's a late book 4 student, 12 years old, practicing on her own. She's been not making progress, but I know she's been practicing, so I wanted to see the efficiency of her practice and what she did. Actually, she did a wonderful, wonderful practice. It just takes longer than she wants it to. Also, I said, was this practice different than your usual practices? Oh, yes. She said, because I was watching it. But what I learned from it is also, I need to be much more specific about what I'm asking for. So I got a little happy with my red marker on the observations. So if you have any questions about that, ask now, ask later. I also made an asterisk sometimes with a circle around it, if there's anything on your observation that I wanted you to bring up in class, because it's usually something that I forgot to bring up. So anyway, I'll take a moment to look through those. And then please raise your hand if you did not get one of these finger pattern charts. I think they just got bunched up for some reason in other people's packets. There we go. So you have 2-sided ones. Anybody else didn't get one? Because I did bring extras. I have single-sided extras. I highly recommend laminating because, boy, I mean, if you're going to use it, I didn't use it for the longest time. I just gathered dust on my bookshelf, and now I'm happy about it because I don't have to drag around a Shradiak book. It's so versatile how you can use this for intonation, for understanding a new pattern in a piece and all that. All right. So, anybody want to bring up any comments from your observation? I should close the door behind you. Or if you have a starry.
Oh, I do.
I love the comments you put on there. Reminded me of some things that haven't been discussed or I wanted to discuss further.
Mine was just that I noted that she used finger puppets as bow costumes. Now, I'm thinking that's what you had asked her.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. I don't know how much I said the tip, the hand, the elbow. All of this up like a rocket stuff. It's for tone production. It's, to have them establish a bow hold and have, the bows just enough weight so it's that good balance of holding it without squeezing it, and all our jiggle kind of work. But whenever we do up like a rocket, we make circles. We're trying to get the tip and the hand and the elbow to move together. And hopefully in front of the student, because that's where we play. So that's something I didn't think I mentioned enough. Anything else? I don't remember. Yeah.
This was for a individual lesson, and it was the concepts are represented kinesthetically, visually, and auditorily. Their concepts are spoken, shown, and practiced by the student during the lesson.
Yeah, just that's super important, that we don't just tell the student what to do, we don't just tell the parent what to do. I know that in a master class, even though some of those teachers only had 10, at the most 15 minutes, for 4 to an hour, but at least we have the luxury of 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour with a student, and if a parent's there at that stage, and it's really important to have the practice during the lesson. For the young child especially, to know, oh, my mom's the teacher or my dad's the teacher at home. And you see so much when you see it back. Just like I noticed some things in the Skype practice, and I noticed some things on the observations that I probably wasn't clear enough about, which is make sure that these observations are something that you could throw yourself right back to that lesson 10 years from now, if you wanted to. Use them, they're tools for you. Okay, anything else? Or any general comments of anything you've watched this week? I'm feeling at this time of the semester, the energy level's like, shunk. So I realized I told you I had chocolate last week, and then I never gave you any. I forgot. So we have brought back from Europe. It's a miracle they're still here. But Link brought home a lot of chocolate. So this has mit alcohol. So this one's a little boozy. And if you don't want to go there, then we have. And I thought it was 3 different kinds, but no. Trader Joe's has the combination of dark chocolate, peanut butter, salted caramel, which is kind of a genius combination. So anyway, take one of each, take one, take two, take, and if you want chocolate, to wake yourself up. And cookies. Why not? So I'll make sure to do some talking instead of all me. When I asked Stan Smith, who I've patterned a lot of what I do in my Suzuki program, what's the secret to your success? Because he's retired now. Oh, good, they're nice and loud. No, it's good. I did it. It's my fault. What's the secret of your success, Stan? You have these parents that are completely committed. They're really involved in your program. They get it. And I've seen him in action, and he's absolutely clear about what he needs in practice, in lessons, and from his parents in general. I'm not going to let you eat chocolate again. Gotta focus here. He said serve food. That's what his answer was. Serve food, and sure enough, he would have his group lessons on Saturday mornings, and there would always be a mini recital. Sometimes this recital had just 2 people playing. Sometimes it was entire 45 minutes of music making from students. And it was between the younger groups and the older groups. And there was this 10:30 recital, but there was always donuts and coffee between the recital and the next batch of groups. And serve food. There you go. So makes people happy. One of the things we try to do once a year is parent socials, where the parents, you don't have anything planned other than somebody's got to be at somebody's house that's big enough to hold all the parents. You are real clear about don't bring your kids. Because the parents need to just be together, and they don't have to talk about anything other than just getting to know each other. But just as much as the kids wanting to come to be together and know their friends, the parents need the same. So serve food, have get-togethers. Stan Smith went so far in bonding his Suzuki program as to charter a bus for all the parents only to go to Second City in Chicago. And it was one of the best times I've ever had. It was so much fun. So there we go. All right. Anyone interested, and I know you're also busy, and you know that this takes a lot of observation, but anyone interested next semester in either or taking book 2 or book 3? The book 2 requirements is not as many observations. We have 15 for book 1, but all the subsequent units have just 8 hours of observation, which seems like and I know that's kind of the hardest part of this thing. I mean, that is really essentially your homework, right? And finding that time is tough.
Are you doing 2 or 3? Are you doing both?
Well, I propose, that you have that option of either doing both. What we had this semester is, you could do ECC and book 1 or just ECC. So it'd be kind of the same thing. You could do book 2 only or book 2 and book 3.
Oh.
But just know that there's 8 hours observation for book 2 and 8 hours for book 3. So keep that in mind.
2 classes then?
Well, no, it would be like, I think, an ongoing thing where you take the whole semester if you did 2, 3, and then we divide the semester in half if you were just going to do book 2. That's 1 credit hour versus 2 credit hours. Don't even know if I have permission for this. I'm just wanting to go with some ideas, clear ideas before I talk with Janet about it. So how many people are interested in both book 2 and 3? Hello. Yeah. Okay. Anybody for just book 2?
Well, actually, that would be
And I think you have to decide beforehand. It's not like, you can change to a one-way ticket instead of a two-way.
If you were going to do like book 3 the next semester, I would prefer to do it 1 semester at a time. But if you're,
Me too. I would like that too. But usually what happens is then we start over with book 1 and ECC the next year, and not everybody's around next year. Yeah.
Have you ever done more than up to 3? Have you done?
Once I tried it, it was crazy.
Not in the 1 semester, but like after.
Yeah, like if we did 2 and 3
next semester, would you keep going?
Oh, that's interesting. I've done it in different schools, you know, like book 1 here and book something else there. And once I did 3 different units and that was too much. But that's an option, yeah.
I did before here, before.
I did book 4 here and we did book 5 and 6 and we've done other units, but I think it's all dependent on how many people are interested, okay?
So if for some reason you don't do book 3 or 4 here, sometime in the next year or so, you'll be teaching it somewhere?
Probably,
Oh,
that's how
okay.
it usually goes, yeah. It's just, I think it's easier when you're an enrolled student
Oh, yeah.
to full steam ahead at here, because we are just having cookie So. And please, eat, finish these things, because otherwise I know where they will go. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about note reading, because we're approaching, we got to Allegro last time. I think we're just about to start perpetual motion. So I wanted to, I'll start out that way because you're busy eating. So, all right. Oh, please. I got it out. Did it not get in here? Oh, there's. So, what are some things to have in place before you would start actually note reading from a book? Where'd you go?
I can repeat it.
Right, that's the book we're going to use.
Oh,
So
you mean before that one?
Before you would start opening this up and doing some activities in this, what do we have to have in place before we actually want to put a book up with a music stand in front of a student? Yeah.
Well, I have 2 things. Maybe just like a basic understanding of rhythm. Like I know you do the walk, jog, you know, just
Right.
not necessarily knowing all of them, but understanding how to count steadily and knowing, you know, whole notes longer than a quarter note maybe.
Right, so basics of rhythm, we would want to know, identify note values.
Yeah.
Okay, like mainly get them in order, the slowest note to the quickest and
Right.
yeah.
And then
Note values in order.
just having a good ear as well for, you know, picking out, because they're not going to be able to read music accurately necessarily if they can't tell if they're playing it wrong, you know? So if they go back to a piece they already know, they should know whether or not.
Okay. And just like this book does a really great job of dividing, it doesn't even put it together, the whole 50 lessons. We got the pitch side and we have the rhythm side. And on the pitch side, it's always going to be quarter notes. And on the rhythm side, you're only going to be showing open A for that rhythm. So really keeping that separate. And my goal is to have them definitely finish this up. Depending on their age, they're going to go quicker or slower because I'm going to delay introducing it. But I want them to be done with this by the end of book 2. Earlier would be better. Early book 2 would be ideal, or at least getting into. I've got an 11-year-old right now who's just starting the 2nd book, and she's just now on chorus. But she's 11, and so, yeah.
Do you go like page by page through that book? Really? Do you like keep track?
Yeah, those wonderful tabs you can put on your boat and where you are.
Yeah.
They can move them.
Oh.
I don't put. If I put a sticker on every 51,
Yeah.
But it's also the parent needs to know enough so that they just go at their own pace. They could do one lesson every single practice.
Oh, so do you give this to them?
They buy it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So, and I have a few people that donate them back, once they've used it up. It's not like you have memorable tunes you want to take home and work on. That's the whole point of the reading book, but more about that later. So, the basics of pitch over here, like you said, you want to be able to, recognize notes. I want them to be able to play all the notes in the A scale, A major scale, and the A and E string at least, because that's mainly what we have in the book, from these 3. But I want them to be able to hear that note and find it, within at least 1 or 2 tries. So, with just their ears, they hear it, they find it, and they can name it too. So name and tell, all 8 notes in the A major scale, which they've practiced a whole lot up through perpetual motion. You said be able to keep a steady beat. Yeah, so we want to make sure that they can do that at least through clapping, all this walk, 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 jog, 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 all that steady. Being able to get a steady beat during that. Even tucka, tucka, stop, stop is really. I'm going to introduce them to march when they play. They'll be at all different stages of that probably. Some are really pick it up quickly, and others, wow. It's a real coordination exercise. March while playing Twinkle Variations is introduced. Anything else you can think of that would be good to have before? Yeah, Michael.
I would say be able to play in tune without looking at their fingertips.
Very good, yes, absolutely. So this goes over the pitch side. In tune, and it doesn't mean, they might still have their tapes, but with their eyes closed. Or at least watching the bow. Great. Super, super important.
I guess just like the basics of, holding a fairly straight bow and good tone and things like that, because once they start reading notes, that stuff they'll be distracted.
Yes, right. So a reliably balanced posture and tone. You don't have to keep reminding them about the bow hold. I mean, you will somewhat, but if that's, they can't do it without being all set up by the parent. It's not, don't even think about introducing note reading. Next. That was Dr. Suzuki's favorite word, actually. He would call it balance. Balance, balance. And he didn't mean just with posture, he meant with life. Balanced. Posture and tone. I suppose that goes kind of, there could be another category that's not necessarily rhythm, it's not necessarily pitch, it's posture. Making a mess on the board. Hope your notes are more clear. Claire's done her part. Anyone who hasn't mentioned anything? Brainstorm. A lot to note reading. That's what we're trying to figure out, how to break it down so that the child and the parent don't have a breakdown. Uh-oh, there's Claire again. Oh, wait, no, we have, yes.
She probably has an introduction of like basic symbols already.
Exactly, the symbols, yeah. Yeah, so, and we can so easily throw those in. They're not going to exactly be putting dynamics into their reading, but it's still good to have those symbols so they're not a, surprise later. The symbol of a treble clef. They can have, big ones that they can trace. Repeat sign you can learn in Song of the Wind. Bar lines, the concept of bar lines, grouping notes. We can start doing things, I didn't bring it, but as I was mentioning before, I think music mind games, great manipulatives, or you can just make your own flashcards. I meant to give those to the kids last group, I'll give them to them in this coming group. But no, it's okay. It's just gradual. Waterfall of notes. So, having symbols, having, I love when the meter is written, like that. No, yeah, shouldn't have a line. I used to think it was, the kids will get confused that are older, like it's a fraction. But having symbols like this, I think is a great way to write, beginning meters, and you can start making, and I'll bring these next time so it's more understood, but you can start making manipulatives and notes, and you can use blocks, you can use Legos, this could represent quarter notes, and this could represent a group of 4/16 notes, and there's so many manipulatives you can work with, which I think is much more understood especially in the ages of, 6, 7, 8. That's generally the age when I'm ready to do this. The soonest, I've worked with all these things at ages 4 and 5. I don't always work with this ages 4 and 5 though, because the tracking, which is another thing, needs to be there. Meaning, can they read simple words and hopefully sentences? I really don't want that until they've understood that. That's a big part of reading. There's so much more to note reading than there is to word reading. That opened up any other thoughts? There she is.
Well, I was just gonna say, like reliable practicing habits, because if they haven't been practicing, when it gets harder, it's not gonna be.
That's true. Once you introduce reading, how much is that going to stick if other things aren't there? Yeah. Yeah. That's sort of a general thing we hope is there for everything, yeah. That's true. I don't like to introduce new things if the practicing isn't there. Whose responsibility is it to have the daily practice then at this stage? Parents. Yeah. So we talk with the parents about that, not scolding the child, ever. And we don't want to scold parents, not in front of their child at least, but we want to be, just, if you want more motivation, you need more progress. If you want more progress, you need more practice. And here's how, then keep them pumped up about it, not, I can't believe you did do this. One thing that just is a sort of side thing, we want to make sure that we're not listening to excuses. Parent comes in and starts talking about, oh, we had a birthday, we had a blah, 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 blah. Not helpful, and so we want to tell them away from their child why that's not helpful. I'd rather you not say any of that, because what it does is it changes my feeling about the lesson, changes your feeling, changes your child's feeling. Well, let's push through and get a great lesson. If you have something to tell me that's really relevant, like, oh my gosh, my child's been sick all week, email me beforehand. And I'm not going to, if they're well enough to come to the lesson, I'm not going to make that excuse. But it's good for me to know, so I don't what's going on here. If a pet's died, or a relative, it's really good to know, just so you can understand why there's a different energy. And there might not be. Kids can be amazingly resilient and just get through things, sometimes when things aren't acknowledged. They don't always need that. So, anyway, let's get away from it a little bit. I think that's a good list that we might add to later, so just kind of keep that page handy, because it's always amazing to me how much more there really is to note reading, and how much we can give to them before they start actually reading. If you save it all till now, it's going to be overwhelming, and it's not going to be enjoyed. And when it's like anything else, if you give the preview and you're set up for it, and then it just comes easily, it's very, very exciting. Sometimes I call reading decoding, because there's like this secret, well, it's not supposed to be a secret, but there's this, it's a new code that we're going to decode, and so that can be exciting to the kid that likes mysteries. So, and sometimes we even have a page called Mystery Songs, and it's lightly row, or it's things they already know, but the title's not there, and we don't tell them. And when they get, oh, I've learned lightly row, this is very exciting. Yeah.
I was just wondering, how much do you delve into the note values, and do you have them play, a whole bunch of whole notes in a row, or that kind of thing, or do you just show them what it is and tell them how many beats it has in it?
I do that first by feel, always by feel it through the body, and then we can go down and clap it and talk about the beats and the values. So in group lesson, I'm playing whole note, hold it, and they're just moving their feet to it, and that's what we're calling it. And I know it's not always going to be 4 beats for a whole note, but that's how we start, walk, 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 walk. So they're just going to march their feet to what I'm doing. Who's seen me do that in group? You know what I'm talking about? Oh, so that's only one person. Okay. So, get up. I've had your chocolate. And this is just something so easy that you can keep doing in every group. And so I'm playing my A and my D. Don't bump into each other. I hope we have enough room. We're going to start with walk, start with quarter. And I will only go once one level up and one level down. And I'm usually giving them whole, half, quarter, jog, jog, as the walk, the step, whole note, and then running. And you want to use that sparingly if you have an Edmund and a, if you have energetic 4-year-old boys, which we have 2 of. They're just totally wonderful.
Is Edmund 4?
He is 4. Yeah. And so is Nolan. Nolan and Edmund are buddies in group class. Yeah. Edmund started when he was 3. That was a trip. Okay. So here's your walk notes. And your feet have to match my bow. Walk, 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 walk. It's scary, isn't it? Walking that. Step, pull, step, pull, step, pull. 1 step faster. Walk, walk, walk. 1 step faster. Go. Jog, 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 jog. 1 faster. Running. Back to jog, jog, jog. I would go slower for walk, walk. Now you say it while I play it. Because that's kind of meaningless to a 4 and 5-year-old.
This is very exciting.
Ideally, wasn't that fun? You guys are adorable. Ideally, they have already had a lot of these concepts. If they've done music together, if they've done kinder music, there's music garden. Those are 3. I mean, Orff Kodai has, these elements are all kind of intertwined into these early music activities, which I'm telling you, as a parent, some of my most favorite memories with my children. I will weep when I hear my music together CD, which I don't listen to regularly. but there's just such a happy memory of sharing music with your child, and it was just one of our favorite times of the week. We would have this at Institute also. That's where we were introduced to it. That's where I really like the music together. I think that's what you teach. It's so clear and pure, and the aerials are fabulous, and it's very singable. And on the CD that you listen to, it's got the mom and the dad and the child's voice, and it's just lovely. I think it's just lovely.
I've heard that many times from parents that the music is very different than a lot of the children's music that they
very
get, and
very
it's refreshing because it's not hard for them to listen to in the car.
Yeah, it's not cheesy. Yeah. It's in tune.
Yeah,
it's pure.
Some of the songs are just really fun too. Like
they are. Yeah, and some fun rhythms and things you can really move to in a natural way.
All sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's a training program. I mean, what did you go through to be a music together teacher?
Well, Christine and I actually did it together, and it was, 3 days?
Yeah, it was like a 3-day program with
like all-day workshop.
Yeah,
and it was like lectures and observing and doing it. Like we had our own class where like she would lead all of the teacher trainers in a class,
Yeah.
And we would be like the kids, and we would observe, and then at the end we had to lead our own song. In the style of music together and all that stuff.
And she gave you feedback for that?
Yeah, and other teacher trainers did.
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about it. I absolutely have fallen in love with it.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It is. It's really
I did
fun.
a similar thing at home. It sounds like exactly the same thing. Actually, my last job was like with toddlers, and it was for training. It was like you would get like a teacher train you while you observed, and then you would kind of gradually just go through it and be observed, and the same thing, you would be the kid and then you would have to teach it.
I just think that's really valuable, because how you can teach a child at one stage is you always need to look back to what experience have they had and what stage were they before, so you can get them to the next stage. You need to look back to move forward, and there you have it.
They had a lot of, those PEMs too. They really try to absorb the people, the
Yeah.
children, and like, with like PEM,
Educate
parental education moments.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's like
Mm.
it's just showing the parents why this is important and all the different things that they're doing in class that
Right,
is really beneficial for the age and for learning music later. And I've
right.
been teaching it now for a little bit more than a year, and now some of my students are like, "Oh yeah, I think we want to start taking piano soon," and it's just a very natural flow
Right.
into more music making, which is
Right.
really fun.
So, yeah, it's just a very, very natural progression. And so in the program here at Northern, we just, at first we said required, and now we just say strongly recommend you take some early music before you start into instrumental. Because you don't know if you want to be this intense, just jumping into a Suzuki program. It's pretty intense. But that is a natural progression of, okay, this is our weekly time for music together. And that just makes so much sense. And then when they reserve that regular time, hopefully not just in the class, but you can buy the CDs and enjoy that at home. I know we sure did. I mean, and it's life training, putting your toys away. It's a huge part. We would always sing the cleanup song, when we're trying to put our toys away from music together. And just like the Resposition song, you start singing it, the kids understand the action. It's such a nicer way than you need to do this now. It's just inviting and doing it with song. Yeah. So all of those things can so easily progress before we bust out the music book. And there can be a whole course just devoted to this, and I would be very interested in. I've taken them, and I'd love to take it again. It's just Barbara Rubenstein, Peggy Weiss, and Barbara Rubenstein. It was a course. I don't even know if it's offered still. They're getting up there in years, but in Chicago, Nell Novak, who's not with us anymore, also would teach music readiness. He used to teach at Eastman School of Music, and really truly believed in the making music reading totally fluent and completely possible as long as it's something you kept working on, at every single age and stage. One thing that we won't get into this semester, but if you do take book 2 and 3, we good?
Yeah, I just
Thank
want to
you.
make sure
Thank
it's
you.
still stuck
I really love Robert Starr's, I don't know if you know this book, what the heck is it called? Robert Starr's, I call it whacking music, that's why I can't remember. Because you march and you have like the steady beat in one hand and you have the rhythm in another. Rhythm trainer. Do you know this book? They use it at Eastman, but it's still fantastic, even if your kids are just 7 and 8. And it's a progression of a book that I do after this. So I do go into the volume 2. I just don't do every single page like I do in this book. Do they get tired of this book? Yeah, sometimes. But if they can go through it fast, try to get them through it before they get tired of it. So anyway, what we're doing in the beginning, and it's got a lot of teacher talk or to the parents. I asked in group lesson, this last group, parents, do you read music? We had just one parent that didn't. That's rare. I think usually we have about half the parents that don't read music. And so when I tell them this is your lucky time because you get to learn to read music with your child. And they really have to, because we're not, I want to make sure this is clear, we're not teaching them the notes. Yes, in the first few pieces. The parent needs to take over and teach them the notes. What we teach them are the new skills for each piece and the fine nuances of, phrasing, tone production, all that. But we're not teaching them the notes. I used to do that, and I wasn't clear about that. So you can teach the parent to teach all that. The recording to teach all that. But they have to know how to decipher rhythm, notes, and bowings and all that stuff. So don't let the parents go behind. They need to do this with their child. So I like that I can just see one page at a time. I don't usually open it out to see both, because that can be visually too much. But on the pitch side, for the first, depends on the child, the first 5 to 10 lessons, I'm not going to be playing it on the violin. I'm just going to make sure that they can see and sing the notes. They already know how to reliably sing an A by now. Ready? Do it. There. an octave lower is absolutely fine. And I'm often an octave lower. Like if it goes up to E string, I am an octave lower. And I will pluck this, guitar style with my violin. I'll pluck what's seen here. Rarely, occasionally, like Evan Stum, one of my students, he has a really low voice, always has. And so he would always sing this. Well, actually, he can get pretty falsetto on it. He kind of jumps around, but it's you want to get them comfortable. So the unfortunate thing, because the best singing range is about that middle C to a G. That's great singing range, but our note range for what we're going to be playing, on the violin anyway, it's great if you're viola, but it's going to be A to E, because that's their experience from what they've had at Suzuki thus far. So we're just going to sing it. I don't know if you can see this, but hey, 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 beep, 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 hey, 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 hey. And we just sing that through. That's just sight singing. This is another, I knew that once we did this, I would think of some more things here. This goes on the pitch side. So we want to know the difference between a step and a skip. And we want to look at that on just, interval cards, like 2 whole notes on a big staff. Again, like I said, we can make our staff, probably doing that this group lesson for the little ones. They haven't even put their fingers down yet, but we can still look at what a skip and a step is, and we can get clear on these things so it's easy. And not just a skip or step, but does it go up, does it go down? And intervals, we can look at what's a third, what's a fifth. We want to do, just like note values, we want to feel them first. Intervals, skips and steps, we want to hear and sing them first, and then we can take a look at what they look like on paper. So we want to, just like on your observations, did the teacher communicate it visually, orally, tactily, or kinesthetically? We want to be able to get it from singing. So we just sing the first few lessons. And yes, I do sing C sharp if we have C sharp, C sharp, C sharp, C sharp. It's a lot to say, but once it's C natural, then we can just sing C. And so that's that side. And then the rhythm side, I will have them, we're sitting down also. This is a nice sitting down break. So we're putting the music right on the floor, and see that? And so I always want them to say the 1, 2. Just like the parent has said they're ready, play. They're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I want them to say the beats. I want them getting that right from the beginning. I know that when they play, we won't always be saying the beats, but then the half note is not going to be like this because they get stuck together. It's going to be 1, 2.
I was just wondering if you always count